All right, y'all. Somebody on the Discord pointed me at this video. It's from the guy who runs If Coding Were Simple. And apparently he got a Svalboard kit. So I'm going to watch his video and give you my reactions and interjections so that we can figure out how the product lands when it ends up in somebody's hands who didn't buy it. Apparently this is something he got from a relative, and he's diving into the rabbit hole of building his own Svalboard with the kit. So I'm expecting some bumps, but also a good time. So let's find out.
Funny story, I went to a little girl's birthday party and came away with a keyboard. It was not her keyboard, and I guess it also sounds...
First of all, I relate to this guy. As a fellow red-bearded weird dad who talks fast, I'm here for it.
It's a little weird that I just went to a little girl's birthday party. I was not invited to the party. That also sounds bad. My kid was invited to the birthday party, and so I went with my kid to this little girl's birthday party. I was not just showing up uninvited to a little girl's birthday party, but the point is, when I got there, I was not expecting to leave with a Svalboard, but when I left, I had a Svalboard kit right here. I am so sorry for this really horrible...
Okay, so first of all, that is a recent kit. That definitely shipped in the last couple months. We just added the sticker with the whole packing list on it to the packaging, and that's the new style of packaging the kit. So this is going to be a legitimate test of the current documentation and community and so forth.
Horrible camera work. Yes, it's what you have to live with if you're going to watch this channel. One of my favorite things about running my own YouTube channel is it's like the one thing, or one of the very few things, my YouTube channel and my kids, that I'm just totally free to screw up. Like, if I want to experiment by hand holding a camera, which last time I know it was extremely shaky and made a lot of you sick, and I'm sorry, but not sorry. I was not sorry for experimenting. I'm still not sorry for experimenting, but okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So where were we? Little girl's birthday party and keep...
I also relate really hard to this. My struggles in making content that is easy to make and also good are real. And I don't want to do too much work trying to set up a bunch of gear. But here I am with a green screen doing a reaction video. So I guess the times change.
This was actually a family member. So it was a family member who is also a programmer, and he got this Svalboard. He ordered it a while ago, and we got talking because, you know, we talk about keyboards. He has a Voyager, this beauty right here. Love that keyboard. Other funny story, he also had the Navigator, the new trackball for the Voyager. So actually got to try the Voyager out. Yeah, I'll talk about the Navigator because I've been asked by, you know, a couple people on the channel about if I'm going to review the Navigator. I guess the short answer is I'm not planning on it right now. I'm not planning on buying the Navigator. And there's a couple of reasons for that, but really it just comes down to money. Like, it doesn't make financial sense for me to get the Navigator when I don't plan on using it long term. And ZSA, their website, they have a page on there. It's like why you should trust us, and they explain the thought process behind affiliate programs and reviews. And basically it makes it sound like if you're not a big publisher, or if you're not as cool as Ben Valek, which I probably am not as cool as Ben Valek, then they won't send you stuff to review. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry for the ugly freeze frame there, dude. Yeah, Voyager and the Navigator thing, this trackball add-on for Voyager, they're really interesting to me. This speaks to a shift that's been happening in the Ergo keyboard world. Sorry, I'm gonna just give you a better frame there. Sorry. It really speaks to the shift that's been happening in the Ergo keyboard world towards integrated pointing, which I love. When I started messing with this stuff just a couple of years ago, it was basically just folks doing track points, and then Quentin at BKB doing the Charybdis, which is a really cool product. And we'll see some more of that later, I think, in this video. But my general approach to this stuff is I want devices in people's hands to give feedback. And I don't care how cool you are. I care if you have an interesting perspective. And I will say, honestly, having talked to Ben Valek recently, that's a cool dude. But he's also a weird dad, as far as I can tell. I think we're all kind of in the same weird dad boat here. So don't be so hard on yourself. I'm really curious to see what you're going to make of the product.
I would like them to send me a Navigator, but I don't blame them if they don't. If they do, they'd certainly get an honest review from me. One of the recent comments that I got on my channel said something along the lines of, I better just read it. Let me find it real quick. All right, I found it. It's from Michael Soft Bimbos 95. Great profile picture, by the way. Anyway, he says, I just want to say thank you. You're one of a select few creators that I consider just as anal as I am when it comes to peripherals. I mean, isn't that just heartwarming? So yeah, anal is, I guess, the name of the game. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Anyway, unless ZSA sends me a Navigator to do a review, I'm probably not, because yeah, it costs $165 for the trackball. And
okay, let's pause here. $165 for a trackball that plugs into your normal split Ergo board. The trackball add-on for Svalboard is like $125 right now. I think might be $130, and that goes like into the board right underneath your fingertips, exactly where it should be. You can run one on either side. All of this stuff. I am so happy that they're doing this, but I'm really impressed by their pricing power. And it comes from the high finish of these like machined, aluminum enclosures, all of that. And it's awesome. I love that this category is blowing up. But I really want to highlight that, if you go out the door with a Voyager with 2 trackballs, you're looking at like a, I don't know, $650, $700 purchase. But you could literally buy a Svalboard for like an extra $150. You'd have to pay more for trackballs, whatever. But like you're getting into that territory. And there's a lot to be said for the sort of more DIY ethos in this space around, building from a kit, ending up with a product that's even more awesome and more tuned to your own specific needs, and not being quite as dependent on, a manufacturer's overall form factor, because you can fit it to yourself. But let's keep going.
And I'm not using the Voyager as my daily driver. I'm still on the Charybdis right here. And as you can see, I have all these 3D printed parts, which I'm...
Hold on a sec. We're going to go back to that Charybdis, because that thing is pretty hot. Yeah, this is the stuff. Quentin over at Bastard Keyboards was kind enough to talk with me in the very early days of starting Svalboard, and his perspective on the market sort of space was really, really helpful to me. I really respect his approach to doing everything completely open. I think it's a really cool way to approach it, especially when you're in a space where there's a lot of action, where there's like lots of people building dactyls. It's not that hard to like generate a new dactyl design, but it is hard to polish one really beautifully. And Quentin is selling a pretty good number of these boards, I think, because they're just like really, really, really cleanly thought out. And he's also getting obviously constantly undercut by people elsewhere, but the community that he supports and the openness of it, are enough to keep that business going, which is super cool. So yeah.
On the Charybdis right here, and as you can see, I have all these 3D printed parts, which I'm actually reprinting because...
Yeah, that's a slightly out of date base plate there, but we'll see.
Because maybe we should talk about the Svalboard now. It's an interesting situation. So back to the little girl's birthday party, I was talking to my brother who got the Svalboard, and he told me that he was dreading putting it together. And of course, I wanted to strike up a deal because I've been eyeing this.
It's supposed to be fun. It's a fun craft project. You don't dread this. You dive in and you roll around in the confusion and the muck, and you assemble lots of things with glue that are really tiny, and you glue your fingers together, and it's a blast.
Keyboard for a really long time. It's probably the #1 requested keyboard that I take a look at on my channel as of right now.
Oh, I'm so flattered. I don't really follow the social media stuff, but the fact that people are asking for reviews makes me really happy. I wish more people would come to me like asking how they can lay hands on a board to try one, because there are customers all over the world who would be happy to let you at least just like come and see and touch a board and understand kind of how it is mechanically and try to type on it. Although obviously they won't want to blow up their fit for you to test their board. But I'm really enthusiastic about people who want to try the device, and I very frequently connect people with local folks who can help them lay hands on one and so forth. I also sell sample clusters, which if you're domestic is not an unreasonable expense, but obviously internationally that's a bit of a high shipping cost for just a little fidget toy.
It's probably a 3-way tie between the Svalboard, the Nia Create, and the Cyborg imprint. But the point is, I've been wanting to get this keyboard for a while, but yeah.
Hold on, I stuck out my tongue there. The Cyborg imprint is really cool. I like that product. The Nia Create, I have Kickstarter feelings about. I will withhold those for the time being.
It's really expensive. Just for the self-print kit, man. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
Yep, $330 to $470 for the self-print kit. This is a complicated thing to design, build, ship, market, manage a community for, all of that. There is no question that this is a real commitment. Even the kit is a reasonably expensive thing, and the full product is a fairly expensive thing. But you have to contextualize it in the world of pathology, right? If you actually need a device like this, $1,000 is nothing. If you actually need a device like this because you earn your living typing and mousing and you can't do it without something like this, it goes away very quickly. The data hand cost $3,000 inflation adjusted, and I had 3, right? Like it saved my career. So worth thinking about, but we'll get into more of that later.
But it's a lot of money. It's almost as much money as just getting a pre-built keyboard, like pretty much any of these keyboards here, except for probably the Kali 42, which is a DIY kit. So
this is true. This is more than a pre-built micro switch, or sorry, regular keyboard switch, key switch based board. It's wildly adjustable. These things are all fixed, and if you don't like the way that one fits, you got to buy another one. And this thing fits to your anatomy directly.
you can't really, you can't buy it pre-made, at least not that I know of. But anyway, it was kind of a weird situation trying to get access to the repository for this file board that has all the files so that you can 3D print.
Yeah, usually people don't buy the kit and then try to hand it off to another person to print, and that made me a little confused about what was going on at first, but we got dude sorted out here.
To be honest, I am questioning if it was wise for me to try to do the build for this, because I'm not gonna lie, it's been a pretty convoluted process. So the repository has all the files in it, but this keyboard is highly customizable. I don't think I've seen a more customizable keyboard than this, and I guess this is a spoiler alert. This comes on the heels of me placing an order a couple weeks ago for the Svalboard imprint. So surprise, if you're watching this part, that keyboard is coming, order is placed. I don't know when it'll arrive, but I imagine it'll be in the next couple weeks. But with the Svalboard imprint, when you order that, you have to take a picture of your hand, and you like get a credit card, and you have to hold the credit card up with your fingers and put it against a blank wall so that they can use that to determine your hand size and print the keyboard that is customized to fit your specific hand. But
Yes, this is cool, right? This is cool in the way that like computer vision is cool, and we can take a picture of your hand and we can make a thing that is sort of the shape of your hand, right? But remember that when we type, we don't type like this. We type like this. And on a Svalboard, you type like this. So the precise shape of your hand is actually more important than the lengths of the fingers per se. What's interesting is actually how your hand fits in space, and that changes over time if your pathology changes. And then with Svalboard, in addition, you have the fingertips. But so I love that Svalboard did this thing where they scan your hand and then they produce essentially a split column staggered keyboard for you. And for people who can get by with regular keyboard switches, it's pretty cool, but you don't fundamentally get away from the same issue that you always face with these devices, which is the fingers have to move a fair bit and the hands have to hover for the most part if you're going to be able to reach the center columns, things like that. And Svalboard offers something completely different, which is a full three-dimensional fit, but it's dependent on the actual connective tissues that run through your hands, right? Everybody's hands are shaped differently, even if they are physically the same outline. And ultimately, fitting yourself gives you the control to eliminate any particular uncomfortable tension or pain that comes from positioning that might otherwise be really awkward on a fixed design, even if it's customized for you.
the Svalboard is taking that to like a totally different level. So, all right, I wasn't planning on doing this because it's kind of crazy. But so I printed this sheet off right here. This is the sizer chart. So you have all these different little spots that you're supposed to put your finger on to determine the...
Yes, the sizer is this is a huge thorn in my side because I did this as a PDF, and my workflow for spitting out this like properly scaled document is a little complicated. And there were some changes in nomenclature that aren't represented here, and there's some old copy on the page here that needs to change. That I could make this much easier for people now, and that's on my list of things to do. So thank you, If Coding Were Simple guy, for reminding me that this actually really needs to be updated. Sorry this was so hard.
Different key switches, which are, I guess, these right here. So I'm printing a bunch of them right now. I think I...
Hold up. Bro. Look at these. These are not supported. These things have hovering sections that are just stringing out all over the place. You gotta stop that print. Are you gonna stop the print?
pick the right sizes after probably like 2 hours of trying to figure it out because it was hurting. It was
He didn't stop the print. That print is bad. We got to stop that.
hurting my brain. So, but basically, we have this sizer chart right here. So these are my measurements right here. Is 15, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, 17, 15. And I just did that by putting my fingers on here until like it seemed to match. And then after you do that, so that's the size of your finger, you have these like brackets. So like 14, 15, and 16 millimeters would fit under the 16 millimeter keys, and same with...
Okay, so this is really complicated looking, and it's complicated for reasons, but there are a couple things I want to talk about. One, first of all, when you're fitting a Svalboard device or a data hand style device, more spacious is better than too snug. So it doesn't actually matter that much until you're really fine tuning. Once you're already adapted to the board, you can get the fingers like, even get the keys even closer to your fingertips. But every data hand device had like a 20 to 21 millimeter key spacing for every finger. It was huge, really huge. And it was too big, honestly, for a lot of people because it was designed for people with really big fingers. So Svalboard gives you the option of bringing that in, and I could definitely communicate more clearly about kind of how to approach that on the first go around here. But the other thing I want to mention is that what's going on for you right now, my dude, is that you are not thinking like a person who has a 3D printer. And I say this with love and deep familiarity with the problem, because when I first got 3D printers, I was like, crafting away. I hadn't really started on this project yet. And I started like, trying to figure out solutions for various problems I had while I was printing stuff or things around the house. And at some point I realized that, like, I didn't need to go to the hardware store anymore to like find a bracket to put up that curtain rod. I could just print one. And then at some point I was looking for a way to get like, maybe some small spools to hold the ends of filament rolls that I'd used enough of that I didn't really want to store a whole spool. And I posted on Reddit like a dumbass, being like, hey, is there any source for like smaller spools that I could put filament ends on? And someone was like, have you considered 3D printing a smaller spool? And I was like, oh. Anyway, so what I want to say here is just start off simple. Print a whole bunch of the keys, right? Print all the sizes. It doesn't matter. It's like a plate or two. On an A1 Mini like you have, it's probably 2 plates to print enough keys for like, plus or minus one size for every one of your fingertips. And then just see which ones actually start to feel better when you start assembling the thing. And then you can put magnets in those, or you can put magnets in all of them and mess around with it. But like, you don't have to overthink it. You're not placing an order that's going to be set in stone. You're just printing some like really simple plastic parts, which you can replace anytime. Don't sweat it. Plus, these are PLA parts that you're printing. You can literally just like dip them in hot water and bend them a little bit if you want to change your fit. It's so cool. Anyway, let's go.
16, 17 will fit under the 17 millimeter keys, and then 17, 18, and you get the point. So you kind of have to convert your finger size from the measurement that you got here to one of these sizes right here. But then that's not all. It's very, very customizable. So basically, there's all these different variations depending on your finger size and the thickness that you want the keys to be at, as well as I'm guessing the like actuation force. There were numbers that said 20G, 16G, and like 10G. I'm assuming that has to do with like gram force stuff.
Correct. Gram forces. That's the breakaway force of the key.
But honestly, I don't know. And my brain was hurting so bad from looking at it that I just kind of went with what I think was the right choice. But then when you look at the files in the repository, the naming conventions don't really make a lot of sense. I'm trying not to be critical here because holy cow, this seems like a crazy project for one person to handle. I don't know if it is just one person. I'm assuming it's
me. It's me. I'm the sole developer. And every sin that you observe here in the naming of files in the repository is my sin. I was not sure exactly how fast the kit program would grow and how much I needed to invest in making that system completely legible to outsiders. So I did what I could early on, and then I recently redid the entire nomenclature. But it depends on context. You need to load in a lot of context in your head to build one of these devices properly.
One person, actually, I have no idea. I can't speak to that. But I went diving down into the Discord because I was feeling so lost with trying to figure out which files I needed to use to.
That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to come to the Discord and be part of the community. I love you, man. Come and hang out. We love to help people get their boards done. I love when people also read the effing manual, but you did. You tried. The manual didn't quite get you there. Cool. Come ask. We're here for you. There's a big community of people who are like really happy to help people get going because we all want people to share in the joy of this device.
Print the keys that I needed for all the different things. Oh, great. And of course, I have some stringing, and yep, definitely going to have to reprint.
Oh, he caught it. Oh, my anxiety is coming down now. That's good.
Those. All right, now I need to look this up. Hold on. All right, so here it is from Discord. He explains the file name convention. You can download a .3mf file that is just like, a project file that has all the different pieces in it. And so this is what it looks like.
Okay. This is not canon. If you're printing your own Svalboard, you need to make your own plates to print the parts. You have to learn how to print these parts because the ways in which they will or will not work, depending on how you're printing them, are subtle. I offer a fully built product where I manage all of that stuff, right? I have a very sophisticated workflow around all of these pieces. Just grabbing a plate of like a couple of plates from somebody on the forum, on the Discord, and like running that and thinking you're gonna get exactly what you need. It's not the way, because you're going to have little things that are different in your filament selection and how your printer is tuned, whatever, that are going to cause problems. So it's fine to do this, right? Like, I'm happy for people in the supporters channel to like support each other and trade files around and like make stuff happen. But if you take a little bit more time up front to kind of understand what parts you're going to need, and then to understand how the whole system works, watch all the videos on my channel, etc., you'll have an easier time. And the truth is, I think a lot of this is happening here because this guy kind of stumbled into the kit and didn't have the like process of like learning that the product existed and then like contemplating it for a while, getting excited about all the customizability and then actually making a purchase decision and committing to it. If you've gone through that path, you're going to have a different level of tolerance for confusion, which is not a reasonable expectation from me as a product developer. I want to be clear. This is all on me. So it is on me to improve documentation for all of this, but it's really interesting to see the experience of somebody who doesn't like come into it like hell bent on making the thing happen, and is more like, what is this thing? How does the process of building one work?
So these are all the different pieces, and when you look at what the file names are for them, they are...
Okay, these file names, if you look in a 3MF file, you're just going to see the final files. These are contextualized in the repo, right? Like you can go in, there's like the keys folder, and it says the north keys, and those are all the 11mm ones. And there's the side keys, which could be 7 or 6 or 8mm or whatever. The context is in the repo. There are README files in there, although they're all work in progress, and I'm always working to improve that. But that's why the Discord is there. That's why I'm on that Discord pretty much 24/7 answering questions, trying to help people move along. And then the desire to offload that responsibility from myself is what drives me to make better documentation. So thank you for the comments.
They're not very clear. There's a lot of numbers, so like 7, 0.
These are perfectly clear if you read the documentation. Height, thickness of the key, or let's say forward position of the key relative to the fingertip, and then magnet offset for key strength. This is documented. There was a nomenclature change a couple months ago, and you might have caught the lip of that, which I apologize for.
And 0.7, sorry, that wasn't even on the camera, but yeah, so all these numbers mean something, but it's really not clear. At least it was not clear to me when I was looking through the README files in the repository of what means what. But I finally found that Discord message. So he explains the nomenclature is there's height, thickness beyond the magnet.
Yeah, magnet face, sorry, that is a typo, and then magnet offset, which is force. So here's the key, and then this is also in the user manual. It's documented with diagrams that show how the width of the cluster impacts the positioning of the keys and so forth.
Magnet face, it says fact, I think he meant face though, and magnet offset. So that's going to be like 6mm, an offset of 1, and a height of 0.7. The recommended height, if you're starting out, is 6mm. So that's what I have right here. It says 6mm, and then there's the thickness and an offset. So for me, the 16mm corresponds to a 1mm offset, and so with a 6mm height.
Dude, just print 24 of each key. You'll be fine. You don't have to think about this so much.
1 for the 1mm offset, and then 0.7 for I already forgot what it was, the magnet offset, where the 0.07 offset corresponds to 20G, which once again, I think that's 20 grams for like the actuation force, but I really don't. I don't know. Maybe there were like instructions that I didn't get because I didn't actually purchase this myself. I just got it through my brother, but I've been going through the build guide. I guess it's all there, but it's a lot of hunting. So I guess my initial impression of the Svalboard so far is this is a keyboard for really desperate people. And
You bet your ass, buddy. You know, I got a data hand when my Microsoft Natural keyboard died in 2002 in a typhoon while I was commuting to work on a bike in Japan. And I was crippled after a week of using a regular keyboard and desperate. And I looked for the weirdest thing I could find that had the best like scientific solution for reducing finger motion and effort, and data hand was it. I was desperate. And if you're not desperate for a solution to your RSI problems, I hope you can find something cheaper. I hope you can find something simpler. I especially hope that you will just buy something off the shelf and solve your problems rather than falling down the rabbit hole of like a, dozens of hours build of something crazy like this. But if you have serious RSI, or you want to protect yourself from serious RSI, or you just love really wild input devices, this is a really fun build, I have to say. Come ask around on the Discord. People are having a great time.
I honestly might be joining that club soon, just the way that my RSI has been, and it really doesn't seem to take much for me to get a pretty bad flare-up. I've been trying to put a bunch of time recently into the Digma Raise 1, which is right here. I know it's hanging upside down. It looks like it's not being used at all, but I've been putting in some gaming time. It's work-related, so it's okay. But I still don't have a very good solution for the mouse while I'm gaming. I want to get
Yeah, this is real.
A vertical mouse for gaming specifically, but I've just been going back to my Logitech mouse. As much as this has helped in the past with its more ergonomic shape.
That shit is not ergonomic. That is a mouse. That is a regular ass mouse with an amazing scroll wheel mechanism. That mechanism is so cool, the free spinning thing. It's so cool. It's one of my favorite mechanism designs of all time. But that is a thing that pronates your arm a lot. You need to be like this if you want these bones and the nerves that run around all of this stuff to be happy. And even then, heavy mouse usage, you're using your shoulder a lot, there's a lot of load there. Over time, it's going to take its toll. Think about vertical mice. It's not a big experiment. This is a random vertical mouse off Amazon for 30 bucks. It's actually pretty darn good. Personally, I've been using a 3M Renaissance mouse for the last 25, 30 years, and they're fantastic. They're not made anymore, so I kind of want to do like a completely open source version just so that it never dies. There's nothing special about it. It's literally like an optical mouse with a cord. It just has the thumb doing the clicking, which is really nice. But yeah, do it. Get a vertical mouse. It will save you a lot of trouble. Or get a Svalboard and see how you feel about trackball gaming. Some people just don't want that. Some people want the speed and precision of a mouse. Mice are really, really fast, and you can get really fast with a trackball, but not everybody gets as fast. So, keep it in mind.
Still, I have issues now with just, I guess, getting old. Anyway, whatever the reason, it sucks. And
the body keeps the score. We all get old, but it doesn't even matter if we're old. Many of the people who suffer from really severe RSI, who show up on r/Ergonomic keyboards, who show up on my Discord, and in this community more broadly, they are young people. They're young people with connective tissue pathology, and yours may simply not have been bad enough to make you crippled when you were young, but it's catching up to you now, and we got to figure out ways to adapt. I don't game. I don't do that anymore. I don't have problems with RSI from typing, but if I had to spend 8-10 hours a day mousing for video games, I would be hurt. That would be bad for me. I would also be inside, and that would be bad for me. Go outside, everyone. Go outside and do things outdoors, walk around. Don't use your hands for a while. Just rest them, let them chill out. You'll have a better life for it.
something like the Svalboard is probably going to be the thing that helps me continue my career for the next, I don't know, 20 years, or however long it takes for someone such as myself to finally just burn out from the software industry. No, that's really cynical. I still really enjoy being a software engineer. Recent years have been interesting, to say the least, with all the AI stuff. I have so many thoughts on that, but also I'm really, really sick of watching stuff on YouTube about AI, and so I'm trying not to contribute to that much, but yeah, it's a topic that I think about quite a lot. Another thing I'm really excited to do a comparison with, once I get the Svalboard working and get typing on it, hopefully I'll be able to actually type on it, unlike the Master Forge, which I've just, oh man, I feel guilty because I really wanted to learn this thing, but it's ended up just kind of sitting on my desk. I put it on my desk and did that so that I would look at it more often and pull it out and type on it, but I don't know, it just hasn't happened. But one thing I can say is, if you don't want to go through the whole build process for the Svalboard, but you also don't want to spend upwards of $1,000 for a completely pre-built Svalboard, then I think that actually makes a pretty compelling argument for getting the Master Forge or the Caracorder 2, because
Okay, so, well, let's let you finish your thought.
Has some of the same ergonomic benefits, namely around very minimal finger movement, but for a fraction of the price. My gut.
Okay, so minimal finger movement, yes. Very different theory of operation. Much, much higher forces. Still relatively small travel, but the forces on the CC1 were 60 grams. The forces on the CC2, I think, are 40. And they're not magnetic breakaways, right? There's a big buildup to those forces as they snap through. And then Svalboard is at 20 or less if you need less. It's a very, very different thing. And the physical, anatomical operation of those joystick things is very, very different. I still think it's a really cool project. I like that product. I think it's an interesting product. It's not for me. I'm not specifically interested in sort of ad hoc cording stuff. I'm also not really interested in steno. But these are very different devices from an ergonomic perspective, particularly for people with connective tissue pathology. I still think that everybody would probably be better off on either of them than a traditional slab QWERTY board. But yeah. The other thing I want to say is it may not be obvious because you can't see legends on a Svalboard, right? The key legends are not there, and they never will be because you will be blocking them with your fingers. But the layout can be basically the same as whatever you use today. QWERTY, whatever. And only 4 letters move. The diagonal reaches, T, Y, B, and N, move to the inward motions of the middle finger and ring finger, respectively. And those are pretty good keys on Svalboard. So you actually don't have to change much in terms of your muscle memory. You mostly just have to calm down your hands. And if you're already a split ergo user, you're looking at a couple of weeks of adaptation to get functional. If you're not a split ergo user, you're looking at probably more 4 to 6 weeks, slowly ramping up to get to a point where you're comfortable making it your daily driver. And with the Caracorder, from what I've seen, their key map is it's from Mars, and for good reason, right? They've designed something that's all about multi-character input for individual words, simultaneous, and that requires a different layout of keys entirely. So they're optimizing for something different, but the learning curve on that is pretty steep. and you're going to have to relearn an entirely new alpha layout. That's fine. Like if it's something that works biomechanically for you, that's awesome. And especially if it's cheaper, do it. Like I'm all for that. But there's some nuance there.
Feeling is that most people are not going to suffer from RSI issues to the point where they would need something like the Svalboard, but you could still get a lot of the same benefits using something like the Master Forge. So yeah, I don't know. That's something to think about. But
God willing, fewer people will need this product. Any of these products. I don't want any more people in pain.
But still, it's in the early phases here. I still can't type on this. I used to know all the keys, and I pulled it out a couple days ago, and I forgot half of them. So, yeah, I'm also trying Colmac. My Colmac typing speed is up to, like 40 words per minute. I can get it up to 50 if I'm, feeling really good. I've been just feeling that itch to finally make the jump to Colmac.
Okay, Colmac is is sort of a semi-modern layout that has a much better home row design than QWERTY. That's about what it has going for it. Like, it has reasonable metrics if you look at most sort of standard prose corpuses, but there's a lot more interesting layout development happening in the world now. Colmac's been around for a hot minute. I would really encourage people, if you're looking at learning a whole new layout, go look at the Hands Down family of layouts. Prometheum, if you're interested in using a thumb alpha, Hands Down Neu or New or whatever, however people want to pronounce it, that doesn't have a thumb alpha. They're sort of more Dvorak-like, but they're pretty heavily studied, and I think people have come up with some pretty good justifications for the different benefits of them in terms of the kinds of roles and bigrams and trigrams they favor. So check those things out. The main benefit of Colmac is that it's actually pretty close to QWERTY, so it's a relatively short transition. But if you're going to go all out and you really want to change the usage of your home row and the best keys on your board, those layouts that are very home row centric, but also can be set up to have either the top row or the bottom row, because you can flip them. It doesn't change the statistics. The south row on Svalboard is also fantastic. Like, it's as good as the home row, basically, because you're in contact with those keys all the time, both the home row and the south row. So think about that. Imagine having 16 keys instead of 8 keys that are super awesome. Think about how much more of your corpus you could cover with those keys versus on a traditional keyboard where you only have those 8 home row keys that are actually really great.
But then once again, I don't know. If I get this Svalboard working and I end up really liking it and wanting to get one myself, because eventually I am going to give this keyboard back because I didn't pay for it. It's not mine. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it. It's just
You're going to build it for your bro. That's so sweet.
A stream of consciousness today. Hopefully the camera work was not too bad, and I am patently terrible at doing YouTube endings.
Okay, so I want to say thank you to If Coding Were Simple here for taking the time to talk about this. It really means a lot to me when anyone takes on this project. And I know what a pain in the butt it is to actually create content about something as you're also working through it cognitively, trying to understand how it works, all of that. So I'm really, really appreciative of what he's done here. And I'm really curious to see how it works out for him. This was a month ago, so he might be done with the build and already using it now. So we'll see how that goes. And dude, if you see this and you want to have an interview or talk about the project, get at me. I'm right here. I'm just a regular weird dad trying to make a living selling weird alien keyboards. So yeah, thanks a lot.